I get nearly endless amounts of questions about children and aquariums. I bought my child this aquarium. My kid won this goldfish in a ring toss at a circus, etc. I'm going to tell you why all that's a bad idea. And it's coming up right after this. Hey YouTube, this is pecktec, and yes, this is an unpopular opinion. I do not think you should buy an aquarium for your child. Before I get into the meat and potatoes of that statement, I'd like to let you know that I am a parent. My child is now 19, not really a child anymore. But I've been there, I understand the thought process, and that's why I'm calling it bull. But I would like to go over a few things that I'm not saying, so I don't confuse people. Subject matter like this can get sort of confusing because I say kids. What's a kid? I'd say a kid is kind of anywhere under 13. We'll say 13 and below. And the lower that age gets, the more relevant this message is. I'm not looking to hate on anyone or really make you feel bad. I just want to kind of spark some awareness. There are a lot of things that I didn't think about when I started keeping fish a long time ago, and now I can't stop thinking about them. So I'm just maybe helping some people kind of get there a little faster. Do children benefit from having an aquarium in the home? The answer is yes. I think the whole household benefits from it. Do children have things to learn by watching you maintain an aquarium? Well, yes, they do. But you maintaining an aquarium does not make it the child's aquarium. But isn't this all semantics? Isn't it all just kind of like, I say it's for them, but it's really mine? Well, sometimes it's yes and sometimes it's no. I see people legit buying aquariums for their children thinking that somehow they'll maintain them. Aquariums are complex biological systems. And the fact of the matter is that it takes a little bit of knowledge, patience, and education to really keep them in a humane way. I stress humane because a lot of people don't see fish as, they see them as lesser animals or as creatures that are sort of disposable. When it comes down to whose animal it is, it's whoever takes care of it, who's feeding it, who's doing the water changes, who goes on the internet and watches stupid videos like this to see how to better maintain their pets. Now, if you're one of my friends or family that has wandered onto this video and you haven't seen a lot of my other videos, I'm not trying to be overly critical of you. I just want you to understand how I personally feel about it, because quite frankly, I'm sick of people talking to me with a ho-hum attitude about how disposable fish are. I'm not sure why people will think that I don't care. Maybe they think it's sort of a universal thing. I've been raised that way. Before I really kept fish, I've never felt like my fish was a disposable item. When I was doing research about antique aquariums for the steampunk tank, one of the coolest books I found was this book about Victorian aquariums called The Toy Fish. I thought, what an interesting concept. I mean, you think people are lackadaisical now. The Victorians, they really didn't care. But viewing something as a toy is probably not a far-fetched perspective than some people have today. It's probably right along the same lines. So what's this have to do with buying an aquarium for my kid? Well, when you say it that way, it implies that the child's doing anything at all to take care of this aquarium when you know they're not. This aquarium's for you. And taking ownership of something when you say this is mine and it looks like garbage, maybe you take a little bit more responsibility. I've even seen people with a 10-gallon tank and one Pleco left in there, just wishing it would die. And that's a really sad place to be. I don't think that this is the kind of situation you get in a lot with puppies and cats and more cuddly things, but it's certainly an important perspective to have. The other thing that I hear a lot is, oh, well, it lives. It's doing okay. There it is, eating food. Imagine it's a person, and imagine it's like the most poorly kept person you can imagine. It's bone thin, starving. It's alive. Does that mean he's okay? I see homeless people on the streets whenever I go to a metropolitan area, sleeping in a tent on the side of the road in the cold. Are they okay? Is that an ideal situation for them? No! Now I'm comparing goldfish bowls to homeless people, but I don't know. I'm not sure how else to frame it in your mind. Just because it's surviving doesn't mean it's doing well. And if it does well or doesn't do well, that's on you, the parent. So maybe you want your child to experience keeping fish. Maybe you keep fish and you just want to share that with them. That's fine. That's good, in fact. I encourage that. That's what I did. But I always understood that if I put an aquarium in Kerrigan's room, it was really my aquarium. It just happened to be in her room. Asking her to take care of it, even as a teenager. Now, I'll say she had a saltwater tank and she took pretty good care of that. I saw her really try hard and take care of it. But man, she was, 17? Before she even got to the point where that was kind of a expected thing from her. I've seen some really exceptional kids, the 12, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old that probably could keep an aquarium and probably would do it better than you. But that's rare. That's not a typical thing for a child. Something else I see a lot that I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a fine idea. Is these things like these kids aquarium contests. I've filmed a number of them, and I don't think they're bad. I think there's really nothing wrong with a kid getting in there and making an aquarium and kind of going through the process, maybe even getting some fish. But expecting that child to also maintain it and keep it for any length of time, that's kind of a different matter altogether. So absolutely, I don't think it's bad. If your kid participates in something like that and you let the child build the aquarium, but you're letting the child build your aquarium. It's not their aquarium. And again, I'm speaking in very general, broad terms. I mean, you might be able to really instill those values, and if you do, congratulations. And really, I'm not talking about people like that. People that are heavily invested in the aquarium hobby already and trying to sneak in another aquarium by saying it's there for their kids, although I think that's probably the best scenario. It's more for the people that come at it without a plan, who just on a whim decide that they want an aquarium. I think a lot of aquarists start that way. But we live in the information age. It shouldn't be so hard to just get that little bit more information about how to do things. And maybe you might have to change a few attitudes that you've been raised to believe. So when you go to the fair, maybe skip the ring toss with the goldfish or the betta. Although a betta is a much better choice. Usually they don't put them in there. Or if they go to a birthday party and someone hands you a little bag with a goldfish in it, just hand it back. No, just say no. If you're not going to go home and buy a 20-gallon aquarium with a filter for that goldfish, just say no. If your kid's sad about it, let them be sad about it. Or start an aquarium for yourself and share the hobby with them that way. This sense of it's my child's aquarium, so I don't have to maintain it. It's baloney. This sense that my fish is doing okay because he's alive. That's baloney. Fish are tough. They can survive a lot. You can torture them for years and they will live. That doesn't make it nice. It's not a nice way to keep a pet. If you say, okay, well, I want to do right, I want to do the right thing, what do I do? Well, I've got a million videos on how to set up an aquarium. And there's another billion out there on YouTube. A really basic aquarium doesn't cost you much of anything. And even if you take a goldfish and put it in a 10-gallon, and then as it gets bigger, put it in something bigger, probably the best thing you can do is educate yourself and then buy the fish. Don't just end up with one and then have to make a plan in the middle of PetSmart. Have the wherewithal to say no to that stupid prize they gave you at a birthday party. one of my relatives sent me a picture of a couple of goldfish that they won, and they were handed out in mason jars. And she's like, well, I'm just going to keep it in this mason jar. Oh my God. I don't know why people write and tell me this stuff. What do they think? It's like they've not watched any video I've made. I mean, honestly, have you seen a mason jar on this channel? If you're breeding bettas or something, yeah, maybe they have the big gallon mason jars. That's fine. That's fine. They're experts, know how to handle these things, and they take care of them. But there are different kinds of fish. Fish aren't all the same, and you just can't do that. I mean, you can do that, but you shouldn't do that. And if you keep fish and someone wants to tell you about how they're buying their child an aquarium, or maybe should they, I don't know if anybody ever asked anyone, but should they offer goldfish as party favors or something like that, send them this video. Let me be the asshole. So I'm sorry, folks, if this was a little too preachy. I know I'm not trying to get on my high horse about anything, but I did want to talk about something that matters. So I'll be back next week with a much more lighthearted video where I set up a really cool 10-gallon tank. And we're going to set it up with some plants for my giant betta. I want to give them a bigger home. That's all coming up next week. That's all today, folks. Until next time, follow your bliss, unless it includes buying your child an aquarium. And keep a clean tank, for God's sake.